Hi there, I'm Catherine Wiseman, founder of Fulfilled Life Coaching, and you are with me today for part 4 in this 4-part mini-series called Living by Design. I'm super excited that you are here, and I want to honor you for being here because, not many people watch a series all the way through till the last video. So if you are here, what this tells me is that you are one of the few that are really interested in stepping out and living your life by design. You don't want to live a life that's mediocre, and you want to align in the partnership of the reason why God's created you. So well done for being here. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to sharing the last of our 4 steps in this process. So by now, I'm sure you've grasped really well this concept that when you live your life by design, what you're doing is you're being purposeful and intentional about choosing to live the life that you have been uniquely created by God to live. You're not following advice from other people. You're not trying to please other people. You're not living according to the acceptance of others. You're not trying to copy or compete somebody else. You are truly searching for the unique plan that God has for you, and you being purposeful about walking that out. And that is so super exciting. So in order to do this, you need to know who you are in Christ. You need to know why you're here, and then you need to have a God-given plan to action it out. So part of the actioning it out is going to be in partnering with God. So a very brief summary, our first 4 awareness steps were being aware that often we end up in our comfort zones, and these comfort zones are often not us walking out our God-given desires and dreams. We started looking at an awareness of what those dreams and desires and passions are that many of us have been ignoring for so long. We start looking at a clearer view of what it is we really want, and we become clearly and acutely aware of the cost of not living our life by God's design. Then we had a look at 4 clarity steps. The first step was, becoming clear by cutting everybody else out, the voices of everybody else, writing down for your eyes only so that no one else will judge your thoughts, your desires, your dreams. We had a further clarity look into what this could be by looking at your purpose from a different perspective. We got clear about the fact that we all have this tug of war, the yes I have versus the no I can't, but that you are in control and you can choose to tug more fiercely on the yes I can. Then we got clear also about the truths, God's truths about the desires of your heart. Then we had a look at 4 wisdom steps. Now these are massive steps, and each of these can be chunked out in a whole other session on their own. But the first of the wisdom steps is becoming really clear of your identity in Christ, knowing who you are. The second wisdom step was letting go of, trying to people please and trying to be accepted by the world, and giving yourself permission to be you, to be the you that God created you to be. The next wisdom step was becoming clear or discerning which voices we're listening to. Are we listening to the voice of the world around us, or are we listening to the voice of God whispering on the inside of us? And then the last wisdom step was to realize that doubt will set in. So when it sets in, who are we going to intentionally and purposefully turn to? Which voices are we going to listen to? Because when you choose to action these steps that we've just been through, what you'll be doing is you'll be opening the door to living your life by God's design. So the big question I have for you today is this: are you finding it a challenge to take action? Know that it's normal to feel like taking action is difficult. So if you're finding it a struggle or a challenge to take action, you're in really good company. So it goes without saying that our next 4 steps in this process are our action steps. So if we take a look, The first of these steps is to take that first step. In my coaching, I've worked with a lot of people that come in and feel that they're stuck somehow. There's a stumbling block that's just preventing them from achieving their goals or carving out a path to where they want to go to. And more often than not, one of the biggest stumbling blocks that we have is the challenge of making a start, taking that first step. And the biggest challenge in taking that first step is often we're not sure what that first step is. We're often not sure, we feel overwhelmed because, when we're partnering with God in the next season, we're often stepping into something that we feel is way bigger than ourselves. And so we run ahead of ourselves and we become overwhelmed by the size of, this new venture. And because we're not quite sure where to start, we often don't start. We procrastinate. We delay. So one way of overcoming this dilemma of not knowing what that first step could be or should be is to think about one step that you can take today, even if it's a small step, towards realizing this God-given dream and towards your purpose. So again, take out a paper and pen and write down any steps that come to mind, the first things that come to mind. And some of them you might be thinking, that step's too big, or okay, so that is a step, but how do I take that step? Some of you might go, there are 10 different steps that I could take. Which one is the right one? Well, it doesn't really matter which one's the right one. Just pick one and take that one step. And it's amazing that once we start taking the first step and then the next, we kind of seem to just be able and more confident to take the next steps as they come. One of the other things that leads to this inaction and not taking any steps is because a lot of us, afraid of the unknown. And a lot of us feel so much uncertainty in stepping out into this new challenge, the new unknown. So if we can position our minds to know that we can expect, of course there are going to be unknowns. Yes, there will be obstacles. Yes, there will be challenges. But it doesn't mean that this journey is the wrong one or it's not worth taking. Of course it's worth taking. It's the journey towards why God made you. So if you know ahead of time to expect the unknown, to expect obstacles, and to expect challenges, how will this change the way that you prepare yourself to take that first step forwards? Spend some time thinking about this and journal whatever comes to mind. Now, the second biggest stumbling block I've found in my coaching practice that people struggle with when it comes to taking action is tackling this thing we all have experienced before, this thing called fear. When we think, and overthink stepping out into something new, often it's fear that grips us. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being enough. I mean, the fears are endless, and we really convince ourselves quite easily why we shouldn't step into the next thing. So I love this quote by Joel Osteen. He says, "This is not the time to shrink back in fear. This is the time to move forward in faith." Because we know that faith is the antidote to fear. When we keep our eyes focused on God, on the fact that this is the plan that He has for us, and His word says that He won't give us anything that we can't handle. His word says that He will make all things possible. His word says that He will give us everything we need for this next season that we step into. So get up every morning, know that you are gifted for the very thing that God has created you for, and you do have what it takes to step into this next season. So here are your next action steps for facing fear. Know that there will be fears to face when you step into your life by design. So if you know that these fears are going to be there, you have two choices. You can either choose to face them, or you can choose to turn around and go the opposite direction. So what is it that you're going to choose? Will you choose to face them? And remember, you know who you are. You know why you're here. And it's actually God's plan that you have to action it out. You have God partnering with you all of the way. Another way to help you overcome your fears and to push through is to remember your why. Remember why you are choosing to step into this life by God's design. And in a lot of this remembering, as we know, we think back of the cost of staying where we are now. So what is painful about staying where we are now? You know, we remember the frustration, the mediocrity, the boredom, the knowing that there's something more, the knowing that we're not fulfilling our calling. And what do you remember, or what do you think is going to be pleasurable about stepping into God's plans and purposes for your life? I know that the moment I made the decision to be brave and to have courage and to step into what God has planned for my life, yes, I'm often a bit fearful, but I've never felt more alive than when I was trying to live somebody else's life. Now, this next action step might sound a bit odd and a bit strange, and you might be going, hang on a minute, where's she going to with this? But stick with me. It's this question, how do I know that I have found what I'm looking for? Now, in the process of taking action, some of us can get so caught up in the action that we end up sort of ticking off boxes. We jump into the next thing and we try and speed through this journey that we're on, and not stopping along the way to have a look at the view, to have a look where we are, and to tap into remembering why we're here, why we're doing this, and to keep partnering and asking with God, am I still going in the right direction? Is this still what you want for me? Because I know in my journey, I was so used to listening to other people and taking advice from other people that even in this process of stepping into this journey that I know God has for me, I needed to learn to remember to listen to Him. And, how do I know that I am still walking out these plans that God has for me? So it's a very important question to ask for yourself so that you can explore your own answer. So let's step in and have a look at these next few questions. So your action step to ponder is this. Do you believe that if you face up to your fears and challenges and push through, that you will soon be fulfilling the plans that God has for your life? Take a moment now to ask yourself this. How will I know when I'm actually living out my life by design? Remember that the more you put into this program, the more you're definitely going to get out. So if you don't have time at the minute to think on this and to answer these questions, come back to it later and spend the time, because you'll be so glad that you did. And one of the ways of getting through this, how will we know, and slowing down to recognize the journey we're on, is to decide how we will celebrate knowing that we're actually living out this life by design. For a lot of us, pausing to celebrate the change and the next steps that we take is not an easy thing. So I challenge you to decide now how you'd like to celebrate your progress. Now, the other thing to know is that when you step out and when you take action and when you're journeying into this new thing, it's also very normal, and you're in good company if you start having mixed feelings. I know for me, stepping out into my own business and starting up my own one-on-one coaching and online programs and online mentoring and blogging, it became quite big, and it became quite overwhelming. And quite often I'd think to myself, it'll be far easier just to go back to the boring job I had before, because there was less to worry about, and I had more time just to do other things. And then I would remember how frustrated and how bored and how unfulfilled I felt in that place. So, when you know that you're going to have doubts coming your way, and you're doubting because, after all, what you're stepping into in partnership with God is bigger than you, it's really good to know how to deal with this up front. So let's jump in and have a look at these last few questions. So yes, you've started taking action steps towards your new journey. You know this is God's plan, yet you start to miss the comforts of your comfort zone, of the past, the things that were known. And you start to doubt your decisions and you start to ponder your decisions. So this is the time for these next 4 really powerful questions. And I encourage you to write these down. You know, I keep these at hand and I come back to them every time I start doubting. And I ask myself this: what will I gain if I were to go back? And then what will I lose if I were to go back? And then I ask myself, what do I gain by going forward? And what do I lose by going forward? These are really helpful questions to get perspective once again on this journey that we're on into living our life by design. Okay, so now we've been through the 16 steps in this blueprint that I feel that God gave me and how to start living our life by design. I know for many of us, this is just the tip of the iceberg in knowing what these steps are. And there are many different reasons that would keep us stuck and prevent us from still stepping out. So if you'd like more and you'd like to chew through more of this journey and get to the other side well, then I'd love to offer you 2 other avenues that will help. The first is my book, Hiding in the Shade. It is available online through Amazon, both as a Kindle copy or as a hard copy. It's a fiction story, it's metaphor, so you will definitely be able to relate to the characters. The chapters are pretty short, and then at the end of each chapter, I've got these your turn questions. So they're specific coaching focused questions that you can journal through and walk through in your journey into living your life by design. Alternatively, if you know that you're someone that would prefer to work one-on-one with somebody, it would be an absolute honor and I'd love to work with you. So I found for myself, partnering one-on-one with a coach was the best thing that I ever did. Now, I live on the east coast of Australia in North Queensland in a little town called Townsville, and it's quite likely that you don't live anywhere near me. So the best way to to offer you coaching would be to offer it to you over Skype or FaceTime or even phone. Although it's always best to see you face to face, and so yes, Skype or FaceTime would be my preferences. So how this works is you can send me an email. Because I don't know where you live in the world, we'll have to negotiate around time zones and figure out a time that suits us best. And then our first session to meet up is a free session. In this session, I'll get to know you a bit better. I'll get to meet you. You can share your story with me and share with me what it is you're looking for out of the coaching and how it is that I'll be able to serve you in this season. I do quite a bit of on-the-ground, face-to-face coaching here in Townsville, so I only have limited space for my online coaching sessions. So if you'd like online coaching, jump online as soon as possible. Give me your name and your contact. We'll connect. And if my online spots are fully booked, I'll let you know when the next opening available time is. And it only takes 6 weeks. In an amazing 6 weeks, you can break through limiting beliefs you've had for years. Stumbling blocks that have kept you stuck for years can actually be wiped out in just a matter of a short 6 weeks. So it's very effective. I was totally blown away by the whole process of coaching. I had no idea that I had such warped limiting beliefs at all. So I found this journey incredibly powerful, and I'm super excited that I have had the opportunity to study coaching so that I can help you on your journey too. Now, cost is always a factor. I know everybody wants to know, well, how much is one-on-one coaching? So the 6-week program comes to a total of 600 Australian dollars if you choose to pay this package up front. So what you get in this is you get 6 one-hour sessions with me over roughly 6 weeks. I know for a lot of us, unforeseen events take place, so if you can't make a session, we reschedule with enough time notice. And so sometimes it could take a bit longer than the 6 weeks, but you get 6 sessions. Other payment options that you have for this 6-session package are to pay in 2, so 330 Australian dollars broken down into 2 separate payments, or alternatively, you have the opportunity to pay per single session, and that's 120 Australian dollars. Now, I'm not sure on your exact currency, and so you will have to go online and do a conversion to see what that will cost you, and that payment is easily made through PayPal, so it's a secure payment option that I have. So, it is your time to live by design and not by default. If you feel inclined to, don't wait, jump online, get yourself booked into these one-on-one sessions. As I've said, there's email support in between, and a reminder, I do only have limited spaces for online coaching, so I would love to meet you soon. Because God has uniquely created you by exquisite design to fulfill a much needed purpose on this earth. The earth needs what only you have to give. And you do have a specific dream, calling, and purpose woven into the fiber of your being that is directly connected to the very thing that the world needs that only you have to give. I've really enjoyed spending time with you over these last 4 days. I hope you've enjoyed this mini course, and I'd love your feedback. I'd love to know which steps you thought helped you the most, which steps you find the most challenging, and I'd love to be connected. So if you are not wanting one-on-one coaching, that's absolutely fine. Click reply to one of these emails. Let me know how you go, and absolutely revel in hearing how you do step in to live the life that God designed you for. It's been an honor. Cheers.